Hello everyone. Today in this lecture we will talk about antacids. So what are antacids? The chemical substances which can reduce or neutralize the acidity in stomach and raise the pH to some appropriate level. The acidity results because of the release of extra gastric juices which decreases the pH level. Now, excessive acidity or hyperacidity leads to the formation of ulcers in the stomach. And if ulcers are not treated well on time, then that portion of the stomach is required to be cut in case of severe ulcers only. The role of the antacid is just to neutralize the acidity and raise the pH level. You can say that they act as buffers, means they may not allow the pH level to fall when extra acid is released. Now, commonly used antacids are sodium bicarbonate, magnesium hydroxide, aluminium hydroxide. Now see, out of these three, the hydroxides are better than sodium hydrogen carbonate. The reason being, the hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide and aluminium hydroxide, they get precipitated since they are water insoluble. Otherwise, on the other hand, the sodium hydrogen carbonate gets hydrolyzed to form sodium hydroxide, which is a very strong base. So it is a strong base, that's why it will be triggering the production of acid in the stomach. So that's why we consider metal hydroxides as better antacids. Now, in the ancient time, people used to take this sodium bicarbonate, but now its use has been restricted. The hyperacidity is nowadays treated with the antihistamines. There is a chemical in our body called histamine. It stimulates the release of HCl and pepsin in the stomach. So, antihistamines are the drugs which work against this histamine. So, a drug was designed called cimetidine, and it could interact with it could check the interaction of histamine with the receptors present in our stomach. So, in other words, we can say the drug cimetidine checks the release of excess of acid in the stomach. After cimetidine, the another important antihistamine which was discovered, that was Zintac. In the market, it is available as Zentec tablets. Both of these drugs are antihistamines and they can check the release or secretion of histamine in the stomach. So, histamine, the cimetidine and brentidine. These are the three structures just for the reference purpose. So, what is histamine actually? Histamine is a potent vasodilator. Vasodilator means it will be dilating the vessels. It has got many functions. Its main function is it contracts the smooth muscles in the bronchi and gut and relaxes the other muscles, such as those in the walls of fine blood vessels. Histamine is also responsible for nasal congestion associated with common cold and allergic response to pollen grains. So there are many synthetic drugs which work like antihistamines. Some of the drugs are Dimetapp and Seldane. Now what they do actually? These drugs Dimetapp and Seldane, they interfere with the natural action of histamines. How? They compete with the histamine for binding sites of receptors where histamine exerts its effect. Now the thing is, antihistamines and these antihistamines and anti-allergic drugs and antacid, they both do not interfere each other. Now why they don't interfere? The reason being, they work on different targets. Their targets are different. So that's why antihistamines and the antacid drugs, they do not interfere. Now the next topic is antiseptics and disinfectants. So what are antiseptics and disinfectants? Simply, these are the chemical substances which prevent the growth of microorganisms and may also kill them. So they can be safely applied on the living tissues. When we say they can be safely applied on the living tissues, we refer to antiseptics. However, disinfectants, they can kill the microorganisms, but they are toxic to the living tissues. So that means the major difference between antiseptics and disinfectants are antiseptics can kill or prevent the growth of microorganisms, but disinfectants can kill the microorganisms. Antiseptics do not harm the living tissues. Therefore, these can be applied to the skin. But disinfectants, they are toxic to the living tissues, cannot be applied to the skin. Antiseptics are used for the dressing of wounds and in the treatment of skin diseases. But disinfectants are used for disinfecting floors, toilets, drains, and many other instruments. So the common antiseptics which we apply to the living tissues are furacin, soframycin. These are not ingested. Soframycin is an ointment. Furacin is also an ointment. So they are applied on the skin. They are not orally taken. Now commonly used antiseptics are Dettol. So what is Dettol? Dettol is a mixture of chloroxylenol and terpineol. So it's an antiseptic. Now in the antiseptic soaps, we add bithionol. So what is the role of bithionol? Bithionol imparts antiseptic property. It simply imparts antiseptic property to the soap. The another example of antiseptic is iodine, which we use for the dressing of wounds. So 2 to 3% solution in alcohol water mixture is known as tincture of iodine. Tincture of iodine. Now it is applied on wounds. The another example is boric acid, which we use as eye ointment. So it's a weak antiseptic for our eyes. The common examples of disinfectants are 0.2% solution of phenol. When I'm saying 0.2%, then it will be antiseptic. When its concentration increases up to 1%, it acts as disinfectant. We use it for cleaning the floor. So that means the same substance can act as antiseptic as well as the disinfectant. It will be antiseptic if it is taken in low concentration. It will be disinfecting when it is taken in the excess concentration. So the same substance can be antiseptic as well as disinfectant. Another example of the same substance is chlorine. Chlorine, it is used for making water fit for drinking. And in that, we add 0.2 to 0.4 ppm, means parts per million of chlorine in water. At that time, it will be acting as the